Hi, I'm going to talk a little bit here about how to use MLA, and in particular, how to use MLA with articles out of our textbook, the Monsters book, 3rd edition. This is important because, of course, many of you, if not all of you, will be using works from the anthology. Okay. Now, I use the word anthology on purpose because first things first, when you're trying to get the right MLA format, you have to know what you have. And the the Monsters book is what we call an anthology. In other words, it's a collection of a number of pieces written by lots of different people. And in this case, all on the theme of monsters. Okay. So it's not really the same as a typical book, and it's not a novel, it's an anthology. So, for example, let's say you're going to use just one work from Monsters in your paper. Okay. So if you can see it says using one work from an anthology. Now these numbers here are keyed to the MLA Handbook 9th edition. If you don't have that, don't worry. But if you do have it, you can look it up. That is also a part of a series. Now that's a really kind of inside baseball move, but we'll talk about that. So the works cited page, which is its own page at the end of the essay, begins works cited. Okay, capital W, capital C, centered on its own line. The font is the same font as the rest of the essay, same size. Then you see, without even reading this yet, you see what I call hanging indentation. Now, I call it that like I've invented that term. I did not invent that term. This is what they use. Okay. And if you are working on a system, whether it's Microsoft Word or some other system, Google Docs or some other system after that, if you want to do this right, don't use tab keys. Don't use the enter key. Use the function for hanging indentations. Okay. You'll have to look up on your own how your particular system does it. Now, the first entry in a typical citation is the author. Okay, the first thing is the author. Now, I said that Monsters is an anthology. That means that each individual article in Monsters has a different author. Now, in chapter one of the pieces is by a guy named Chuck Klosterman. Now, we put last name first, first name last. Klosterman, comma, Chuck, period. Then we put in the title of the article in quotation marks. My zombie, myself, then there's a colon here, okay, to separate the title from the subtitle. Why modern life feels rather undead. Note that there's a period after undead, and it comes before the quotation mark here. Okay, so this is the article that Chuck Klosterman wrote that you are citing in some way. You're quoting from it, you're paraphrasing from it, what have you. Then you put the name of the anthology, which is just simply called Monsters. Now, the name of the anthology is italicized because it's basically the big book, or as MLA thinks of it, the container in which you find the article. Okay. Monsters, italicized. Now, there's a comma after Monsters, edited by somebody really smart who did the editing. The book is now in the 3rd edition, so it says 3rd edition, or 3rd ED, period. The publishing house is Bedford St. Martin's. So you see Bedford, and then there's a slash, St. Martin's. Notice the apostrophe, comma, and the year of publication is 2025, which of course is found on the copyright page. Now, because we're taking a specific part of the anthology, in other words, the article from the anthology. We're also going to put down the page numbers. Now in MLA, we use the abbreviation PP to stand for multiple pages. Okay, PP period means it's multiple pages long. And there we go, 38 to 43. Period. And then, because it is a book in a series, okay, the series is called the Bedford Spotlight Reader. It's actually on the cover. It's on the title page. It's on the copyright page. It's actually very easy to see. So this is, if you are going to use one of the pieces, just one, out of Monsters, this is the format. Now, you may not be actually using Chuck Klosterman. I expect you, of course, to be able to adapt to whichever one you're using, okay? Now, sometimes you might use two or more works from the anthology, okay? Now, I got a little excited with this, and we have a lot of examples here, which is probably way more than you would ever actually have in your paper. But here we go. The system that MLA develops is called the cross-reference system. And it's used if you have two or more works from the same anthology. The point being that you don't have to repeat all the anthology information over and over again. Now, actually, forget about alphabetical order for a second. The most important thing is that we identify the anthology itself, which is right here. And we're going to list it by the editor's name, Hoffman, comma, Andrew J., editor, period. Then Monsters, italicized, period. Hey, magic. Now it says third edition. So Monsters is in the third edition. It is published by Bedford St. Martin's, 2025, just like we had up above. Then it says a Bedford Spotlight Reader. So this entry right here is for the anthology as a whole. The cross-reference occurs by using multiple works from the anthology. And so we don't have to put all this information every single time. Now, please remember, as I said, we begin with the author's name. Now, in alphabetical order, this time through, we're looking at Del Toro, comma, Guillermo, comma, and Chuck Hogan, period. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to include this particular example was because we have two authors. Keep in mind that both authors are going to be listed, but only the first author is going to have the name inverted. Okay, Del Toro, Guillermo, and Chuck Hogan, period. Then the title of the work that's in the book, Why Vampires Never Die. And then here's the trick. Instead of putting the rest of the information in for the Monsters anthology, you just put the last name of the editor, Hoffman, and then the page numbers on which the article appears. Same thing happens here with Hitchcock, comma, Susan Tyler. Conception, Hoffman, multiple pages, 23 to 33. Klosterman, there's old Chuck again. This time we still have his name, we have the title, but now it goes to Hoffman, comma, again the page numbers, 38 to 43. Then lastly, in alphabetical order, Shelley, comma, Mary, From Frankenstein to Modern Prometheus, Hoffman, multiple pages, and 20 to 22. Now, if you feel uncomfortable with this cross-reference, you can go ahead and just simply cite the anthology in total for each different article you use. But the point of the cross-reference form was actually to make people's lives easier, not harder, believe it or not. Now, as I said, it's pretty unlikely you would use, in this case, 4 articles from one chapter in an essay. That's pretty unlikely to happen this semester. I just do this for demonstration purposes so that you can see how it works. Everything's in alphabetical order, has hanging indentations. By the way, the works cited page is always double-spaced as well. Okay? So there you have it.